Trump gave people money.
Well, so did Biden.
$600 short of what he should have, what he promised to give.
Well, if we're talking about campaign promises, Jesus Christ, I only got 13% of a wall that I was promised. I mean, presidents break promises daily. What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for being with us today. This is the Deviance Welcome podcast brought to you by Volatile Patients. I'm John, and with me, as always, my co-host, Cell. Say hi to the people, Cell.
Hi, the people.
Fantastic. How you doing, Cell?
I had to work today, so my shoulder's a little sore, but other than that, I'm okay. I didn't have COVID, so there's that.
I feel like you're disappointing the people and burying the lead in the same thing. You didn't give them enough of like the sadness they've become accustomed to coming out of you, and you buried the lead by pointing out the fact that one of us had COVID and it wasn't you. It was me. I have been battling COVID for the last week and a half now. It was great. I went with the family to see a WWE event, which was okay. And then afterwards, I went to see the TSO, which was fantastic, but I caught a souvenir. I'm assuming I caught it from the concert. I mean, there's no way for me to know for sure, but I have some pretty good indicators.
Sure.
That I probably got it from that concert as opposed to Raw.
Yeah.
Not to say that there were more people wearing masks at Raw than at the TSO. There weren't really any mask wearers that I saw for the most part anyway.
To be seen, right.
Right. So, I recently did that, so that's great.
Yeah.
And I guess, well, I don't know. I mean, you work a pretty hard labor job, so you could have felt some of the way I felt, but your temperature didn't get to 104, so maybe not.
No.
I don't know. Either way, I think you disappointed the people. A little bit because you didn't go. No. You don't get a second chance. You get another chance next week.
Okay.
That's how that works. You only get one.
See, I thought I was just going to throw a curveball. Yesterday my car broke down, serpentine belt and water pump fried.
Yikes.
And I had to swap those out in the parking lot of a semi-local fucking auto parts store where I just happened to pull over when my car started overheating.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to do that in 12-degree weather.
That's awesome.
So that was fun.
Pure Michigan.
Yay.
Pure Michigan mid climate change.
Yeah.
Late climate change? I think.
No, we're still
we're
early.
Mid. Yeah.
We're not even mid yet. We're early climate change. This is just the start.
I tell my son all the time about the first polar vortex we got when it was like, I think it was like -20 or something like that with the wind chill. And I remember I was delivering some food and I spilled a pop off the roof of my car. And luckily I caught it before the whole thing spilled. But a few drops trickled down my window, hit the top of my window. By the time it got halfway to the bottom of my window, completely froze.
Yeah.
Like day after tomorrow style. I'm like, this is really unsettling.
Well, I mean, like the whole day after tomorrow thing was that it was essentially the same thing as what the polar vortex is. Right. It was just that the climate had gotten so destabilized that it was popping off everywhere instead of just the one normally at the North Pole polar vortex.
Right.
Getting all fat and sloppy and making its way over down into the U.S. and Canada.
Right. That was great.
Yeah.
It was a fun week. COVID's not fun, guys. And I'm vaccinated, and it still hit me pretty hard. Yeah. I had symptoms for a good 3 days. 3 days I was pretty knocked out.
Yeah.
So, and then of course I've been sitting at home doing nothing because I can't go back to work without a negative COVID test. Which, I mean, I get, but it's really fucking annoying.
You're still positive right now? Is that what you're saying? That we're in the same room together and maskless?
It has also been more than 10 days.
And you're positive right now?
It has also been more than 10 days, which is double the CDC's new recommendations. You knew this.
Well, I figured you had gotten a negative test by now.
No, I tried. I tried hard yesterday and I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry. Again, it's more than double the CDC's new list or the CDC's new recommendation.
Yeah, right. As far as that segue goes, might as well be the first topic of conversation today, huh?
Indeed. So apparently the CDC has decided that we only need 5 days for asymptomatic people. And then that's supposed to be followed by an additional 5 days of mask wearing.
Okay.
As opposed to the 10-day.
Uh-huh.
I heard that one of the reasons we're doing this is to keep critical societal functions like airlines open because they lost a lot of people. A lot of people were calling off and staying home from COVID. I heard, I mentioned this pre-show to you that I saw a meme that, this was the week that everybody just called off work.
Sure.
Because the holidays just, bam, hit fucking everybody.
Right. Everybody's living room was a super spreader event.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I was no different.
So on that front, what I have been hearing, the scuttlebutt, this is the I don't know. It's a military thing, I guess.
Okay.
The rumor is that the people that have been getting most affected and having like pneumonia and shit like that are the people that are basically just like laying around through that whole 10-day period.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're getting up and moving around, that massively reduces the chances that they're going to have extra lung complications and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on those grounds, I could see it maybe having a little bit of a nugget of, okay, maybe there is a little bit of good intention intended with that in terms of like letting it slide that way. Right. But really, like, what was it? Delta Airlines was the ones who put the screws to the CDC and was like, no, you've got to reduce these restrictions, which is like the stupidest fucking thing because like the last place that you want to be breathing everybody else's fucking COVID air is in a fucking closed off metal tube.
Right.
Like, no, thank you. Recirculating that shit for however long your fucking flight is.
So if we were making the case, we could. But that doesn't mean it's a good fucking idea. But, I mean, there is something to be said about that. I personally had a few days of symptoms, and for those of you who don't know, I kind of diet and keep track of my steps. So I was before then, I was getting an average of 17,000 steps every single day.
Uh-huh.
And I went down to like 600 steps in no time.
Right.
Because I wasn't getting up for a goddamn thing.
Right.
Like that is the trips to the bathroom that I took, and that is it. But slowly but surely I felt really, really groggy for a long time. And it was just like, I was looking at my step total at 600, thinking I used to do 17 and it seemed so insurmountable. Right. I'm like, how the fuck am I ever going to get back to this? The first day that I got 10,000 steps, I was exhausted.
Sure.
So exhausted.
Sure.
And I've been trying to like fake it till I make it.
Sure.
And yes, there, at least in terms of what I've observed, there is some credence to that theory. I'm back up to 17 now, and I'm fine.
Right.
But it took, it took a few days.
Yeah.
At least to get back into it.
There's some recovery time.
You got to get back into your shit.
For sure.
You're just going to have to push that wall over.
But see, that's the thing is like, ultimately what it comes down to is that they want to pull these people back into work immediately as fast as they can because fucking capitalism and worker shortage.
Right.
Right. So
not because worker health.
Right.
Why would we care? Right.
We don't care about worker health.
Of course not.
This is America. But like the big thing about it is like at the end of the day, we are now at highest levels of fucking new cases and new hospitalizations and blah, 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 blah. And like nobody seems to like really ever mention the fact that this is now like new peak after the vaccine that was supposed to save us. Right. Like, so regardless of whether or not there is even really validity to whatever methodology, like let's say that Delta wasn't involved in these CDC guidelines. Right. And let's say that the 5-day reduction was we had totally benign intent of getting people to be up and moving around so that they don't develop extra pneumonia and shit like that, right?
They took our advice on that one.
Right. let's just assume that these are all like benign cases.
They're not, but yes.
Right. But just for the sake of argument, right? If we're applying scientific methodology, I think it's pretty safe to say that reducing those restrictions and then like numbers are skyrocketing, pretty safe to say the science isn't actually valid on that one. At least not in terms of containment.
Right.
If there's any kind of a containment strategy, that is not an applicable methodology.
No, we're building back better, which means we need to go ahead and shorten.
That's tabled too, bro.
We need to. But we're trying to, allegedly.
No, we're not. That's tabled, bro. Was that on our list? Because that would be a segue, but it's not.
Well, part of the thing was on the list. The tax credit was supposed to be part of Build Back Better.
This is the child tax credit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was supposed to be Build Back Better. We failed on that.
Yeah.
So I guess you're right. But Manchin got his wish.
Manchin and cinema. Woo.
Fucking douchebag. I heard that
Vote
Manchin
boo.
is he's concerned with the bill's cost and what it would do to inflation. Which is great. I also heard, and I will link to where I found it in the show notes, is according to the Huffington Post. So take that, for what you want.
Sure.
But I also found it on a different site. Said privately.
It all comes from the CIA anyway.
Yeah. Privately, Manchin also reportedly voiced concerns that parents who received the monthly credit would use the money on drugs. Because everybody who is eligible for a tax credit, those poor people that are eligible for a tax credit obviously have drug problems.
Sure.
Obviously. Like, I can't imagine who in the what's our population? 375 million people or something like that?
I mean, let's see how that population count is looking after
post-COVID.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm sure that this giant chunk of people, millions of people, tens of millions of people, if memory serves correctly, that received that credit, they were obviously on drugs.
Sure.
Obviously. And you can absolutely just make that, that prediction with any sort of validity. That is what we call an educated guess, right?
I mean, to be fair, like, they're going to be using it on ibuprofen and antibody boosters and hospital bills for whatever, like steroids and fucking antibiotics they get put on because they caught COVID and now they need to stay the fuck home and do a round of fucking antibody boosters and all that other shit.
Right.
So, yay. Yeah, they're on drugs, just not narcotics.
Right, of course. Well, allegedly, I don't know, he might be right. Maybe everybody does have a drug problem. I mean, I know quite a few people that got that tax credit. I got that tax credit. Maybe I'm on drugs and I didn't know. Maybe he knows more than I do. No, you're a douchebag. And people were depending on that money, and now it's not there. So I guess you're right. I guess we're not building back better.
We're not building back better. See, the big thing about this is, like, first of all, this is what vote blue no matter who gives you, right? Is you end up getting some fucking douchebag from a red state who's going to basically on anything that matters vote the way a red state would normally vote anyway. So you're not getting any kind of benefit whatsoever. And so this is the shit is like, all of this stuff is critical during the primary season, right? Like, if we're talking about if you're going to actually try and get some hope of something good happening in electoral politics, you're not. But if you're going to hope of getting any of that, then you have to get a good candidate in during the primary season, because you're not going to have a good candidate during the fucking general election. And so what they'll turn around and tell you is you can't get your good candidate in during the primary, because if you do, you're going to lose in the general. If you get the bad candidate in the primary, you've already lost the general.
Right. Period.
Like, it's over already. You're voting between two of the same team at that point. And also, this whole setup is by design, right? This is so that all of those rich fucks who occupy seats in government from blue states who want, air quotes, these good things to happen, even though that would hurt their bottom line at tax time.
Right.
Right? Even though that would hurt their bottom line at tax time, they want these things to happen.
You guys can't see it, but you
He's
can
like,
you can
I
just
got
imagine
bunny ears all
there
over the
are
place.
air quotes everywhere.
There's so many bunnies hopping
Just-
around this room.
Right. Maybe I am on the drugs he told me I was on, because I'm seeing bunnies everywhere.
But right, they supposedly want these things to happen, but then even if they have on paper the majority in the House and the Senate, there's one or two people who vote against the party line to make that agenda collapse, and it goes nowhere. That's the whole, and then they can go back and say, well, we voted the way that you would have wanted us to, so you should continue to vote us in.
We tried, guys.
We tried. So you should continue to vote us in, and maybe next time you can get a better candidate for that red state.
What was that we said back when we did the Trump's out thing? Nothing will be fundamentally different.
Right.
I believe was what came out of our president-elect at the time's mouth.
I mean,
not that we really pay much attention to what comes out of his mouth anyway.
Crazily enough, in this whole situation, it is a little fundamentally different in the sense that it's worse.
It's worse? How about that? Careful, though. You're going to get all the Trump apologists going, oh, Trump would have saved us all.
Hey,
it's
you know what?
I don't think he would have.
You know what? Hey, look.
You're right, because this is by design, right?
Trump gave people money.
Well, so did Biden.
$600 short of what he should have, of what he promised to give.
Well, if we're talking about campaign promises, Jesus Christ, I only got 13% of a wall that I was promised. I mean, presidents break promises daily. They live on broken.
Okay, but
the White House is built on broken promises.
And genocide.
Well, broken promises, right? I'm not going to kill you.
Sure, right.
Until I'm done using you.
Yeah.
So, moving on. The myocarditis scare turned up some new results, and they are promising. That's cool. I heard it was actually right around the time that I was going to get my first vaccine or my first vaccination.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden the myocarditis thing popped off.
Can we put a pause on this, just because this was something that up until you put it on our list of shit to talk about this week, I hadn't heard of at all. So I'm assuming that there's a possibility that there are other people that haven't heard about this. Can you go into a little bit of detail?
Yes,
about
I
what
will.
the fuck you're talking about?
I absolutely will. I absolutely will.
Okay.
What I was going to say is this was one of those things that resonated with me, because right about the time that me, my fiance, my son were going to get our first vaccination,
Sure.
it was like literally the week of. We were supposed to get vaccinated that Thursday or something.
Sure.
And the initial scare of, oh, this, the mRNA vaccine is popping off and giving people heart inflammation. Right. Which is being exacerbated, and it's just everything is horrible, and it causes myocarditis.
Sure.
Which is inflammation of the heart, which can be fatal.
Woo!
It's not one of those things. Apparently it's treatable.
Uh-huh.
But could be fatal.
Right.
Which is enough to make you go, right. Like, do I want to do this for me? Do I want to do this for my kid?
Right.
Well,
because at that point you have to start weighing risks.
Exactly.
Right. There's no good answer, because either way you're weighing risks.
Right. And it was one of those.
And it's really one thing to weigh the risks for yourself. It's another thing entirely to weigh the risks for your kid.
It was.
Who has to live their whole fucking life based off of your decision right now.
And I'll tell you what, the day I heard that, my world fucking stopped.
Sure.
And I learned every goddamn thing I could about mRNA vaccines and the link to myocarditis and what the cases were going on with and how you treat and see myocarditis. Like, I became a myocarditis expert immediately, bro. But I actually did, right? I actually did the research and looked at peer-reviewed papers and things like that.
Yeah.
Instead of just going on what YouTube said.
Right.
Real research.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Secondhand, but yes, real research.
Right, secondhand, but
You're not a scientist.
We'll go into the specifics of secondhand research, proper secondhand research, in another episode, because it will take a while to explain. That point is moot. But I was in that shit, and it just recently came out that I believe it is 1.6 out of every 100,000 people were having an issue.
Okay.
And
I understand is that they are also mostly male?
yes.
Okay.
That is what I heard. And this is in a demographic of younger people in the bunny ears.
All right.
That is, I say that with the bunny ears because that is ages 12 to 39. Sorry, Sel, you don't get to be in there because you are like 50. Just wanted to point that out. So,
I got my first shot while I was still 39.
you did not.
I did.
Every day that we've been on this podcast, you have been at least
60.
over 40. I don't want to hear it. Don't lie to the people, Sal. How many times do I have to tell you? We are a truth-telling podcast. You can't go and lie to the people about your age. They're going to see you on camera and know that you're 100, bro. Stop it.
I can't wait till I go full Gandalf.
Me either, honestly. That's going to be hilarious. But yeah, and I'm certainly not downplaying the fact that there is 1.6 out of every 100,000 people. That's still not
still a lot
perfect.
of people. I
right.
mean, that's still a lot of people.
It's
if we're
not
talking
perfect.
about 100,000 people and we're hoping to get full vaccination, like if we were to actually get full vaccination for everybody that can be vaccinated, I'm not trying to like get true herd immunity so that the people who can't get vaccinated are protected. Right. Like if we got those numbers, we are still looking at millions of people being affected by this.
Of course.
Right? So it's not a small thing, even though it is a small thing.
But yeah, you're exactly right. I'm not trying to downplay that, but it is nice to hear that it is far less than the initial scare made me think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
it's a relatively low chance.
Right. And again, myocarditis is one of those things that can be fatal, but is very treatable.
Right.
Especially if you catch it early.
Okay.
So
cool. Okay.
So that was one of those bright spots that I kind of wanted to point out because we certainly have enough bitching in this episode that we're going to get to next. Okay. Ghislaine Maxwell. That
Da-dong.
bitch. She got found guilty on 5 of 6 charges she faced.
Did you find out what the charge was that she did not get found guilty of?
Wasn't it the travel one? The one where she transported somebody to...
Most of them involved travel or conspiracy or something like this. The one that she was found not guilty of was enticement.
Oh, enticement.
Travel.
Oh, okay. Enticement
for the purposes
to
of
travel.
sex or whatever.
Right. Got it.
Right. Like she did not entice these girls. She did, facilitate, sex trafficking and all of this other fun shit. But
and
she
allegedly participated in as well.
And in terms of the allegedly, as far as the courts are concerned, she participated.
She did, right.
But she did not entice anyone to do these things.
To travel to do these things.
Right.
She enticed people to do these things, just not to travel to do these things.
Right. That was the other thing about this case was that this case was like based in New York, and so like the people that they could call up were people from New York and nobody else. Like as far as victims, right? Because the jurisdiction of the court only allowed it to be for those people. Right. And then one of the people that they called up as a victim wasn't even like one of the charges because she was technically legal age at that time and above the age of consent at 17.
At 17.
But because she was above the age of consent, she was just there as a witness being called by the prosecution in order to like establish precedent, not really precedent, establish that it is like a normal behavior,
right,
or a normal tactic that they as a couple, the Epstein and Ghislaine, were using.
Mm-hmm. Dude, every single thing I read about the goings on and the testimonies and it's just so like I don't know that I've cringed more. Like, I've watched some pretty fucked up horror movies, dude, and I haven't cringed to the point that I cringed. Like, just,
Did you hear about the dildo?
No. Go ahead. All right.
Okay.
Give it to the people.
Okay. So one of the points of evidence in this whole thing, in terms of like trying to establish Ghislaine's complicity, part of the defense's argument was that this was something that, you know, Epstein did on his own, and people are just trying to punish Ghislaine.
Yeah, she's taking the brunt of it
because Epstein committed suicide.
Right.
All the bunny ears.
So
many bunnies in here today.
Mansion is so right, dude.
Rabbits everywhere. But
I was hoping for dragons, but I'll take rabbits.
They're fuzzy and soft, and you can pet them. But the defense's point was that, you know, Ghislaine is being lambasted for Epstein's crimes, and so what the prosecution did was talked about the dildo, that it was. There weren't a whole lot of details given about the dildo, but the dildo...
Thank God.
The dildo...
I'm not even religious, but thank God.
But the staff were instructed, and by staff I mean cleaning staff, because of course they had fucking cleaning staff, right? These rich fucks had somebody else clean up their messes. They had some other human being get paid to go into their massage rooms and clean up fucking Epstein cum and lube off of the fucking floor. And also, if they find the dildo, to take the dildo, clean the dildo, and then put the dildo into Ghislaine's bathroom closet. Could you imagine working for somebody where one of your jobs is to clean up their sex toys?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
What kind of a wage are you going to ask for to take that job, John?
Dude. Oh, Jesus Christ. We are starting at 6 figures. Starting. And that's before I have details.
Sure.
That is before detail 1. I hear cleaning sex toys 6 figures right now. Okay, we're not getting into the specifics of those numbers because they're not going to be in the 100,000. I fucking guarantee it. We're probably going to start at 250, bro. It's disgusting. And certainly if I have any sort of inclination that it is a woman that is below the age of 18, we're not having the discussion at all. Right. And I'm reporting your ass.
Right.
Like, right. As soon as I walk out. Ugh. It's fucking... I don't know, man.
Guilty. On 5 out of 6. Unfortunately, during the course of this trial, we did not get any of the goodies about, or at least not any new goodies about any of the activities of people in the Black Book.
Somebody was paying for her defense. I mean, last I heard, her dad didn't have any money.
Last I heard, her dad was 1, dead, and 2, almost certainly a spy for some government, most likely Israel, but also have heard for Soviet Russia and France and the U.S. floated as options.
So, delightful. Either way,
you haven't heard any of that stuff.
No,
I'm sure.
I haven't. Either way, though,
that's fun shit.
Somebody was paying for her defense.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it could be any of her siblings, because she does have surviving siblings, and the twins are software developers, also associated with the CIA. Just in terms of the spy shit.
I don't care. The people she's protecting are likely helping.
Well, here's the big thing on this one, I think, is somebody could be paying for her court fees, like out of family, but her not talking about that is how she's not going to commit suicide in prison, is my thought process on that one. She went to trial and didn't say shit. Kept her fucking mouth shut.
Right.
Took the hit, got her guilties, is going to prison. Now she will live long and prosper.
In prison?
In prison.
What is long and well, I guess it depends on the prison she's going. She might be going to a 5-star resort prison.
She's not going to kill herself with a bedsheet, is what I'm saying.
Right. I wonder if she can get like the Harley Quinn treatment after Suicide Squad, where she got the espresso machine and her, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, or have you? Did you ever see Now You See Me?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, there's a scene in the second one where Morgan Freeman is in jail.
Okay.
And he's got like.
Was the second one called Now You Don't?
No, it was Now You See Me Too.
Oh, well, that's fucking lame.
Anyway, he's got this jail cell that is set up like beautifully. It's got fucking like wall treatments.
Sure.
And he's got a computer. And like the floor is redone with no or with the fake wood tile, whatever.
Sure.
Like it looks like almost like one of the manufactured homes you'd see. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe she's got one like that. Or did you see Orange is the New Black?
Yes.
Like the celebrity had in Orange is the New Black, where she was, she was able to get the ecstasy and everything.
She was supposed to be the Martha Stewart, right?
Right.
That was essentially it. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And speaking of yet another court case, Jussie Smollett got his verdict in December.
Okay, so just in case.
I never even mentioned we're doing December in review. That's funny. Totally didn't introduce it. Hey, guys, we're doing December in review. In case you didn't notice.
Okay, so Jussie Smollett verdict. Just so that I can make sure that I'm fully up to speed myself on this one. This was the guy who allegedly, I'll say that because I don't know what the verdict is yet. Faked getting mugged during some of the BLM stuff, right?
Fake. It was an actor from the Fox Network show Empire. Which was centered around, I think, like a hip hop record company.
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I should have, because two of the actors I really, really like. But anyway, he was on that show.
And wasn't he like fired or something, or was getting fired, or wasn't getting renewed in the next season or something like that?
I can't speak to that. Okay. I know that there were tensions on the show that had been reported, but I didn't dig too deep. Okay. Because it didn't seem overly relevant.
Sure.
But yeah, he was in court because people said he allegedly faked homophobic and racist attacks right around the time that everything was heating up with Black Lives Matter and things of that nature.
Right.
5 counts of disorderly conduct on the basis that he filed false police reports.
Okay.
Guilty.
Okay.
All of them.
Woo.
I got them for you.
Okay.
Count 1 accused him of telling telling a responding police officer, Chicago police officer, around 2:45 a.m., 45 minutes after the attack, that he was the victim of a hate crime.
Okay.
He said 2 attackers put a rope around his neck.
Okay.
Count 2, Smollett telling same officer, he was a victim of battery, describing the attackers beating and pouring bleach on him.
Okay.
Count 3 and 4 are when Smollett made the same claims, but to a different officer.
Okay.
Later that morning.
Okay.
Like 2-3 hours later.
Okay.
Count 5 accuses Smollett of again telling one of the cops he had recently talked to that he was a victim of battery.
Okay.
And then count 6, which is the one he was acquitted on. Smollett.
So he's also 5 of 6, huh?
He's 5 of 6, yeah. Well, in terms of him, he's 1 for 6, just like Ghislaine, right? That's 1 for 6, because you want to be acquitted.
Well,
right. It's a sports metaphor. I'm sorry. I should have prepared you for that. That's my bad. Anyway, count 6, the one he was acquitted on. He was reporting to a detective that he'd been a victim of aggravated battery.
Okay.
He got off on that one. But the other ones he was found guilty of, and I did hear some hearsay. I'm not going to cite it because I didn't dig too far into it, and I cannot confirm nor deny its validity. But I heard that a Chicago police officer had been doing some digging and found that a lot of this was tied to the fact that he was unhappy with his wages on the show.
Okay.
And was trying to boost his popularity.
Right. Okay.
he makes like $100 million or $100,000 an episode. 100 million, Jesus. $100,000 an episode.
Okay.
Which was around, I don't know, like 12 million or something if he was in his scheduled episodes.
Okay.
I mean, that's not a bad chunk of change.
No.
But when it comes down to it, that's also hearsay.
Right.
So I'm not going to dig too much further into that.
Sure.
But that does beg the question, if you are guilty of these things, as in the court of law he is.
Right.
Why? Why would you do that?
You know, there is this like...
Sel has this look where he might actually give me a controversial take, one that maybe doesn't agree with me, so I'm really interested.
There is this cultural thing that in a lot of ways we are guilty of on this pod, right? Of kind of bandwagoning on to goings on.
Absolutely. We are definitely guilty of that. No contest.
Yep. And you know, basically putting out possibly controversial content for clicks and views.
Also guilty.
Yep. We're guilty of that. And, you know, that's just a thing that happens. And, you know, sometimes if you're a person of means, you might go to greater lengths than two broke white dudes from the Michigan, Detroit area, right?
I heard it was his allegedly his friends that he helped, that helped him orchestrate the attacks.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I can't confirm that it was.
I guess what I'm saying is that if you're like an Instagram influencer that's already making $1 million a year, then you show up at things instead of talking about them in your basement, right?
Right.
And if you're making $12 million for all of your scheduled episodes, you fake getting your ass beat in order to kind of boost shit for BLM and also to like boost your own notoriety in regards to that when that's the trending topic.
Well, now here's my problem.
I mean,
that.
I'm not saying that that's actually the case, right? But what I'm saying is you asked why somebody would do that, and if we take our low level bandwagoning of talking about it in our fucking basement. Yeah. Versus IG models who show up at the protests and be like, we're at the BLM protest, click.
Right.
You know, like and subscribe, click.
Right.
You know, if you kind of scale up means in the same way, then perhaps you could come up to somebody doing some shit like that in order to not necessarily get those likes and subscribes, but maybe to get that pay cut or that pay boost on your fucking next contract. You know, if
you are once again stretching,
sure.
If you're trying to make Manchin's point like you did earlier, but I mean, you're not wrong.
Did he actually get his ass beat, or when he fucking filmed the shit, was he wearing stage makeup? You know what I mean? Like those are two different worlds. You know what I mean? Like he could have his friends beat his ass, and in which case, why would you do that for sure? But then also within the cultural context, there's the BLM stuff. There's complications there for sure.
Okay, but here's my issue with it, and you're not wrong. The case could be made, but that's just slimy, dude. Because you and I, we jump on bandwagons every single episode. We are at episode 43, right? Yeah. And we are currently jumping on like 3 or 4 in this episode alone.
Right.
But I am not, and granted, it's a whole lot harder for me as a white privileged male, you know, so I'm not going to fake it. Nobody's going to give a shit if I get killed.
Sure.
Well, half of the country will.
No. They're still not going to care because Kyle Rittenhouse walked killing white people.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. If I had evidence that I could support the other side, maybe, or if I put some Trump shit on my wall, then maybe they'll care. But otherwise.
Yeah.
Either way, that's a stupid play. If at all your motivation is to, quote, help Black Lives Matter.
Sure.
You don't go out and stage an attack.
Right.
Because in the event, even if you don't think at all, if you think you are somehow that smart,
right,
that you can outsmart everybody on the internet,
sure,
which is everybody, right, who has security cameras, who has you know, footage for this, footage for that. If you think for a second that it could be done, you have to assume there's a possibility that you'll get caught.
Sure.
And if your motivation is at all to help the movement,
right,
you don't fucking do that.
Right.
Because now
Because now
everybody
that gets their
has
ass kicked.
a talking point is what I was going with.
Yeah.
Every single person that wants to have any sort of problem with Black Lives Matter now has a talking point because you have been found guilty.
Right.
You are 1 of 6, right? So now to them, you're 5 of 6. Congratulations. Right. You are now the prime example that people want to talk to or talk about when they discredit Black Lives Matter. So I don't think that it had anything to do with helping the movement at all, at least not with any sort of forethought.
And that was, in terms of my stretch, I wasn't claiming that he was working.
I knew you
know
were.
what I mean?
I knew you were.
Okay.
Listen,
Yeah.
Let me be clear.
Okay.
Cell is 100% just working in hypotheticals to give me a counter talking point.
Right.
In no way does he justify or believe any of these actions were in any way okay.
Right.
And that's me speaking for him because I know.
Sure.
I can tell you from experience, Cell is in no way justifying these things, just giving me a counter argument because that's what we do on shows. On this show, we try to play the devil's advocate best we can. But in that way, man, this seems to me like pure selfish. And on top of that, you really made things harder for the movement.
Right.
You know what I mean? You really did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there was absolutely, if he actually did do this, because now we are talking about a black man going through the court system aspect of it.
Accurate. Very accurate.
You know what I mean? I don't know what state it was in.
I don't know.
Chicago.
So it was in Illinois.
Oh yeah. So this notoriously not racist fucking court system.
Right. So it is entirely possible, and that's fair.
Right.
That is fair.
Within the eyes of the law as it exists, he is guilty. Right. So in the sense of within the eyes of the law, he is guilty. Doing this would have definitely been just a selfish move.
Right.
There's no other way around it.
Right.
There is no helping the movement by faking attacks. There's more than enough real attacks.
Exactly.
That he could use his platform to fucking draw attention to and move into the public consciousness.
Right.
That would have been more helpful than faking his own attack.
Absolutely. We could think of tons of them. Well, thank you so much for checking us out today. This has been Deviance Welcome. You can check out more episodes and get access to the latest everything on our website, volatilepatients.com. Sign up for the mailing list and tell us what you'd like to hear. Also, currently, if you sign up for the mailing list, we do play music. And we are offering the music video for our Anthem to the Apocalypse Breaking News. You can get it before we release it in February. And we will also give you a giant package of breaking news content to chew through. Check out the Sock Meds if that's your thing. Facebook.com/volatilepatientsmusic.
On Twitter, spelled weird because Twitter did not give us enough characters.
Thank you, Twitter.
At VOLATYLPATIENCE. And on Instagram, spelled normally because Instagram did give us enough characters.
Thank you, Instagram.
At volatile_patients. And you're looking at me weird. You're looking at me weird. So I'm assuming
you switched it on me.
So I'm assuming, since you're looking at me weird, that you would also like me to talk about our upcoming Twitch stream, which will be at twitch.tv/volpattwitch, VOLPATTWITCH, where we will be streaming John, who notoriously does not have enough time to play video games, sucking at video games.
You can check out the YouTube channel at Volatile Patients, or you can check out our Deviance or you can check out the Deviance Welcome specific YouTube channel at Deviance Welcome. Check out our Deviance Welcome Facebook group where you can join the discussion with us. Remember to give us a review on Apple, and December sucked. Surprise, surprise. But we're back, so that's cool.
Yay,
and with
January and COVID.
We will see you next week. Say bye to the people, Sal.
Bye, the people.
No!